Me, I am resident astrologer here at Sage Goddess, and I have the honor of co-teaching astrology class with Athena, which is super exciting. And I am here though today to talk with you about Venus entering Gemini. And I'm signed on here just a minute early. And I'm also going to watch the live chat on my other monitor so I can see it better, because when it does kick in, which I don't see it kicked in yet, it is very tiny on this screen and my eyes are definitely getting older. So I'm gonna hang out just for a second here until we see. Oh, yay, I can see Karen. So we are on, yay. Okay, so you guys, this is great. So today, Monday, April 10th, Venus enters Gemini tonight, 9:47 p.m. Pacific time, which means 12:47 a.m. technically tomorrow Eastern time, but it's happening tonight. Oh, yay, someone's here, first live with me. So happy to be here with you. Yes, so hopefully these comments will come through better later, because let me just say in advance, I'm going to talk a little bit about Venus entering Gemini, and then I brought my astrological dice so that I could do a few little mini astrological dice readings for you guys, because I think that would be fun for us as a group and for some people individually. So let's just jump right into Venus enters Gemini. And let me just say this. When we're dealing with transits in the sky, right, because when we say Venus enters Gemini tonight, that's literally what it's doing in the sky. The same energy we're going to talk about is very, very similar to Venus and Gemini in a birth chart. So if you're born with Venus and Gemini, all the things we're going to talk about apply to you personally all the time. But for the rest of us, we're about to make this shift for Venus into a new sign. One of the ways that I understand and put together or synthesize or integrate astrology is by every time I go to look at something, literally, even if I'm going to be teaching it or I've been doing it for over a decade, I stop and step back and say, let's first start with, in this case, the planet. What's Venus? Right? What's Venus? Oh, thank you. You guys, so here, this is jumping ahead as well, but Venus and Gemini, and then I promise I'm going to break it down. Venus and Gemini, in many ways, artistically, beauty-wise, looks, aesthetics, is about being curious, trying different things, and not getting so bored and stuck in a rut, right? Gemini likes variety. So, as some of you may have known, I usually always have blonde hair, but over the pandemic, I let it go back to its natural color. And so over this weekend, I was like, I think I'm gonna put a little bit of blondie back. I'm not entirely sure whether I like it better this way or not. Alexis and I have been going back and forth a little bit about that, but she says she loves it, but jury's still out. I don't know, anyhow. So, personal note, I know, let's get back to the actual astrology. So what is Venus? Venus represents the part of us, collectively and individually, that is about love and relationships. It wants harmony, it wants balance, it wants beauty, right? It doesn't want things to be ugly. It doesn't want things to be overly complicated, right? Venus in general wants an ease, wants a flow, and it wants connection, right? It is like the ultimate relationship planet, or the planet of love, right? Think about Venus in mythology, right? The goddess of love and beauty and art. And so when we are working with Venus energy, sorry you guys, I'm just making sure I can see the feed. Okay, cool, I can. Yay. When we're working with Venus, we want to think about, what do I love? What do I like? What's my pleasure, right? What makes you comfortable? What brings harmony to your life? What helps you calm down? What helps you kind of reach a state of equilibrium? And Venus is also about essential needs, right? The things that we just need. One of my teachers used to always say, with essential needs, you're gonna get them met one way or another. So it's good to be aware what those essential needs are, so you can go about getting them met in the most healthy way for you, right? Of course, we're not all gonna do that all the time. I think of Venus, I think about times like have enough cushion. So now, think about that part of you and that part of us collectively, and now think about that being in the sign Gemini. Okay? So, and signs bring motivation to a planet. If you think about, this is one thing in living astrology we've been diving into a little bit, right? You can say that planets represent the who, the different parts of you on the inside, or the actors in your life movie. And the sign that a planet is in is what motivates that part of you, or how that part of you works, or the quality of it, right? And so with Venus, if we kind of break this down a little bit, if Venus is about essential needs, that's one thing, right? What are some Gemini needs? What does Gemini want? So Venus, essential needs, what I like, what I love. Gemini, right? It's gonna want intellectual connection. It's gonna want conversation. It's gonna want dialogue back and forth. Gemini is gonna want information. You know, it's gonna want the facts. It's kind of perfect that we're here geeking out on astrology stuff right now, because Venus in Gemini loves that. Different ways of looking at things, different words, right? Different ways to classify things. What does this mean? So, oh yes, okay, so is this Bridget? I'm so sorry, it's so tiny on seeing on here. Yes, okay, you can see how old I am. I have to like take my glasses off. Bridget, yeah, Venus in Gemini means I think intelligence is attractive. Yes, we call that sapiosexual. Yeah, sapiosexual, being attracted to intelligence. And that's a very Venus in Gemini thing. So right now, for all of us, you know, while Venus is transiting the sign Gemini, play with your words a little bit more, right? How can you bring more connection, bring more romance, bring more love, bring more balance, harmony through words? And how, so, you know, whether it doesn't have to just be a sex thing in the bedroom, right? And maybe it is, maybe intelligence or words or wordplay is something that is exciting to you. But just in general, like, think about how we work with words. One of the things I noted down here is when Venus is in Gemini, we need to really communicate with others, right? And oftentimes when we're communicating, we're just kind of talking on our own, right? And then someone else is talking on their own, and there's not really an interplay. We're not really in it together. It's kind of like, I'm saying my point, now I'm waiting for you to say your point. Probably while you're talking, I'm thinking about my next point, you know, and all the way around. But Gemini is a sign of communication, but Venus is about doing things with each other. It's about compromise, collaboration. Again, it's about relationship. So it wants to have, you know, a balance of listening and of speaking. It wants an ability to kind of weave or dance. That's a very Venus thing, dancing back and forth with the communication, sharing ideas or going back and forth. Yeah, sorry you guys if there's problems with the video feed. We have been having, I don't know that it's us here, but it's been an ongoing thing. So I apologize, and I hope you don't miss too much. Oftentimes if you go back, it will pick back up, but yeah, it's super annoying, especially for Gemini, because Gemini is like so fast, right? It wants to think quick and get to the next thing and not miss the next thing. So to have technology cut that off can be really frustrating. So the other thing to think about with Venus in Gemini is think about the quality of your conversation, right? What are you getting from that conversation? Or what are you giving in that conversation? I always think that with Venus in Gemini, and honestly just with life in general, if you can master the art, again, I'm using the word art specifically because that's a Venus word. If you can master the art of communication being Gemini, there's really not much that you can't accomplish, right? If you can communicate well with different people, different places, and you can appreciate and observe someone else's communication style and adjust yours so you actually are communicating, that's huge. So that's one of these gifts of Venus in Gemini, right? Gemini flexibility. Gemini, it's fun, it's a sign of the twins, right? So we definitely talk about duality with Gemini, but in many ways I feel like Libra is more duality because it is the relationship, you know, the me and the you kind of interplay. I think of Gemini oftentimes as multiplicity, right? And we sometimes talk about, Gemini going all directions, or Gemini swinging all ways, or Gemini being open, to, all different ways of being and living and thinking, because in many ways, Gemini is about perfect open-mindedness. So when Venus, about relationships, comes into this sign, are you really being open? Are you being open to what someone else is saying? It actually isn't what we think. That's so many times where communication breaks down. Yeah. So I'm excited about it in that aspect. The other thing here is, and we did record an Astro Talk for Venus enters Gemini. I think it might be coming out this Friday, but we've still been working out our schedule a little bit. For those of you that don't know, on Fridays we have an Astro Talk, and my colleague Jared and I get together and do that. And one of the things that I brought up with Venus and Gemini is being kind of fluid in your relationships, fluid in your style, fluid in everything really. And Bjork has this awesome song called Venus as a Boy, and I love that song, right? Because it's a play again on, well, why do we say it? Of course, Venus in mythology, wasn't a boy, but why do we have all these classifications for things? Gemini is curious to look at it in a different way. So one of the things I've been encouraging myself and kind of everybody around me to do is try a different word. If you've been using the same word for the same thing forever and you think it means X, Y, Z, try changing that. And if you think when I say a certain word that it means a certain thing, ask me what it means, right? Instead of assuming what it is. That builds bridges, right? And so Venus in Gemini, in many ways, Gemini, the sign is ruled by Mercury. And remember, if you don't, well, you may already know, but I'll just throw it out again. Mercury is the only god in mythology that could go between the upper world and, the world we're in and the lower world, right? Could take souls into the underworld and come back up again. So this ability to bridge and go between yin and yang, which we might also call feminine masculine, right? Fluidity, sexual fluidity, gender fluidity, these are all things to think about now. And not that you need to be a certain way, but open-mindedness around this stuff, right? And asking questions, right? That's a very Venus and Gemini thing. So let me see what else I have in here to think about this with Venus and Gemini. Okay, so I'm looking in the feed. Does anybody have any questions so far before I think about rolling the dice a little bit? Yeah. Oh, I didn't mention this, but Venus and Gemini, I mean, come on, if you're a lyricist, if you're, musician, an artist, if you're a writer, any of those things, right? Venus and Gemini, Venus brings a natural charm, again, charm and beauty and ease to whatever it does or creates. So in Gemini, any type of communication, right? So it can be written, can be spoken, can come out in artistic expression. So it really heightens our ability to bring kind of the love, or to bring the not passion in a Mars-y way so much. This is a more airy, air kind of transit than a fiery transit, but that really kind of heart and feeling. Oh, yes, one more thing to mention here. So Venus is also about feelings, right? Just our natural organic feelings and sensations in the body, right? That's a very Venusian thing. And so when you put Venus in the sign of Gemini, the ability to communicate our feelings, to be able to actually give a word or a texture or a color. I sometimes say, if you can't come up with with an actual description, sometimes I have a friend, and a long time ago, he would always say, that's gray, or that's a blue thing, or the color is teal today. And it really, really, really helped me sort of feel into things in a way that didn't force me to get so descriptive. So again, there's different ways, I guess, to work with this energy, right? But you may find it easier to describe your feelings, to share your feelings. Sometimes during Venus and Gemini energy can be all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I never recognized that's what this is. Or we suddenly connect the dots between things, right? Suddenly something in my body or in my heart clicks in my mind, and I have this body-mind connection. Because think about how Venus traditionally rules the signs Taurus and Libra, right? Which means it's earthy and air. And so there's a very embodied part of it, and then there's a very sort of more social, intellectual side to it. But I think of this combination very much as opening the door to a body-mind connection. And even think about that when you're talking with someone or in conversation, right? Are you so stuck on the words and thinking you know exactly what they mean that you forget where they're coming from, right? You forget where the heart's at, or you don't feel what they're actually meaning. And then vice versa. Sometimes we're so tuned into feeling that we're not listening to the actual words that somebody's saying, right? It's very interesting how we, bob around back and forth between that. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit, knowing that we're coming into this time. Oh, I didn't mention, this is like not good astrologer on my part. Venus again enters Gemini tonight, Monday, April 10th, 9:47 p.m. Pacific time, and it's going to be there until May 7th, okay? So we have this little window here to work with this energy. Okay, so let's do a little astro dice. And I'm gonna pick a few people. So let me know if you want me to roll the dice for you. I'm going to be working with, I will show them better with the camera, but I'm working with, can you guys see? These are our lapis astrological dice. We also have them in sunstone. Every time they come in the shop, I feel like I've ordered like 6 new sets because I give them to my astrologer friends, and I love them. But what's fun about them is if you just set it on your, all right, Luis Herrera, let's start with you. All right, so I'm rolling the dice. One thing I will say, if anybody has these dice, the north node and the south node don't have a little line to delineate kind of which side is right side up. So what I do is I just, whichever way they roll closest to me, that's how I go with that. All right, Luis, let's get back to you. So I have Pluto in Pisces in the 4th house. Let me show you what they look like. Sorry if this is a little awkward. Anyway, okay, can you guys see? I have a couple little, there, that probably looks, I'm gonna put a nice little spot here. Give them these little crystals. All right, so this is the glyph for Pluto, sign Pisces, 4th house. Let me get back here. Here I am. So, Pluto is about the deepest level of growth and evolution. It's the area where you need to really let go of anything that holds you back, right? Any of those old deep emotional attachments that keep you stuck so that you can really empower yourself. And so that's the part of you, right? This is the part of you that wants to evolve, wants to shift, wants to be stronger, wants to kind of burn through old karma so you can move more towards your dharma. And the sign Pisces can have to do with lots of different things. This can be spiritual things. So for some people, this is needing to transform or break through or let go of kind of some old spiritual baggage, because a lot of us have it, right? Some spiritual stuff happened that's come up and hasn't all been quote unquote good. This also can mean transforming your spiritual practice, right? And Pisces, always a certain level, is about letting go, surrender, right? It's about accepting things as they are with compassion and understanding, right? With Pisces, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing broken, nothing to be fixed. So in some ways, this sort of transforming, and I would say really empowering your spiritual practice. Now, the 4th house here means that the area of life that this energy is really coming up for you can be home, family, or your own inner emotional space, right? So this could really be transforming your spiritual connection with yourself at the deepest emotional level, or it could be transforming, compassion and love for family. So you can kind of take it kind of any way in there. But I hope that helps a little bit. Okay, let's see. Who else? Let me look and see. Okay, Lynette Stewart. Let's do this. Oh my gosh, more Pluto. You guys are a Pluto crowd today. Well, that's exciting. All right, so let me show the dice because you have a look-see. There we go. Okay, Pluto in Sagittarius in the 8th house. Man, we're kind of still on the spiritual, religious belief roll. It's interesting. I find like when we all get together in community, and I would call this community right now, oftentimes the common threads of what we're all either working with or sitting with, that kind of, it rises together. And I think that's a beautiful way and for support for each other, right? Even though we all have our separate stuff, there's something about how the greatest community need kind of arises. So again, Pluto, we just talked about, where needing transformation, rebirth, to really empower yourself, to let go of old attachments that keep you kind of stuck in old emotional patterns, but also just kind of where you need to grow and that deepest desire for growth and evolution. Sagittarius is around truth. It's your path and following your truth. And it is really transforming your beliefs, your whole life philosophy, right? What you are, when I say path is not, I don't mean where you're getting to or where you're going. What I mean by path is how you move through life. And Sagittarius is about natural. It's like your natural path and natural law. So for some people, this is like transforming their belief system, or literally re-empowering themselves to go after, have the confidence, Sagittarius confidence, to follow your bliss, to follow your truth, whatever that means for you. And in the 8th house, woo, that's a deep dive, because the 8th house can be anything from, of course, it can be sex, it can be it's a house of death because it's transformations, meaning anything we have to let go of to rebirth into something else. So you can see in this particular roll of the dice, this is a lot of rebirth energy in here. But the 8th house also is any kind of, it can be deep psychological shadow work. It can be anything we kind of keep buried underneath the surface. So this could be really asking you to take a deep dive into what's in your metaphorical closets and under your bed, and what is ready to be unearthed, what's ready to be seen. Also, this can be in the area, and this is a more mundane thing to say, but it can also be around any kind of joint resources. So this could be business ventures, right? Shared money on any level, any kind of thing, because 8th house is any kind of merging energies. So it also can be anything mystical, right? The occult type things. But my general feel on this is to be really honest about what you need to confront, about what has been kind of kept in the dark, because now is a time that you're ready to actually see it and to actually move through it in a new way. And if you thought it was a weakness, it's not. It's just about transforming it into something else. Okay, so let me see who else here. I apologize, you guys, that the feed is like so weird on these two sides. Somebody mentioned they had a birthday, but I don't see it. So if that was you, comment again that it's your birthday. Please, so I can find it. Or Karen, help me. I know, you guys, I promise I'll do more of this. Maybe I can just do this a little more often. All right, I'm not seeing the birthday one. Maybe I missed it. So I'll do a couple more. I can probably do 2 more. Let's do, ooh, you guys. Hillary Russell, do you want, yeah, Hillary Russell. Well, Hillary Russell, you're up for me. I'm gonna do it. Woo! Sun in Aries in the 2nd house. Let me give you a little peek here. All right, there we go. You guys, one thing that's so cool about these little readings, doing them just to give you readings, although I think that's fun to do. I'm doing it because it helps us continue to synthesize the astrological archetypes. So anyway, that's kind of my aim underneath. The more we start to look at the things, okay, in this case, Sun in Aries in the 2nd house, what does that mean? Sun, sense of self, right? Your sense of self-identity, sense of purpose, how you shine, kind of the essence of your light, right? And in Aries, right, that is needing to give that sense of self, that sort of, literally, think about the sun in the solar system. It is the center. It gives light and warmth and life to everything. So it is like the generator or the center of your own personal solar system. In Aries, you need freedom, you need independence, you need to act on your own behalf, you need to go your own way, right? It's the ultimate, like, need to be you and do you. Yeah. So this is, I think in some ways, is like permission to like check it out, try it out, go for it. And the second house traditionally is resources and money and livelihood, also natural gifts and talents. So this could be, you know, really like letting yourself go your own way, or Aries can be very pioneering. So this can be like, I don't know, letting your light kind of shine in that authentic, natural, free, independent way. But maybe it's taking that energy and finding new pioneering ways to deal with resources or money, right? Or maybe there's a different way to take your sense of self or your sense of purpose and really take the lead to manifest resources in a different way. And the second house is also about self-love and self-worth, right? So I think of this in part ways of just giving your, you know, letting yourself be you and find the value in just being you, right? That really is kind of the core piece here. Okay, so let me do one more. All right, I'm sorry that I can't get everybody. Allison Lang, let's do you. Last one here. Woo. Another sun. Again, you guys are really, again, repeating things. I love it. This makes me happy. All right, let me show you. Sun in Sagittarius in the first house. All right, I am back. Again, sun. Let's recap. It's actually a good recap, right? What is the sun? What does the sun represent in us? Sense of purpose. In many ways, our sense of identity, although there's more than one place that's there. But yes, I'm definitely going to do the collective. Don't worry, I will not forget that. So, but how I feel that I'm meant to shine out there in the world, right? My radiance, how I express myself. This is the sun, the part of me that wants to put my light out there. And in Sagittarius, right, is going for my truth. It is, again, following my path. We talked about this before, my natural path. So for you, right, Sun in Sagittarius could be sense of self at doing Sagittarian things, which can be teaching. It can be a wise one, right? Think of Sagittarius as, you know, I know we don't like this word as much these days, but like the guru, whatever that means for you. I talk about that in particular because Jupiter is the planet that rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter, Indian-wise, translates to guru, right? So that is a natural association with that. Or just being a seeker, seeking the truth, going on a journey, right? Going into the unknown, diving into the mysteries, diving into metaphysics. And in this case, you've got it in the first house, which is the house of self. It means doing these things for you, taking the lead, acting on your own behalf, having courage. I've mentioned this before, but I will mention this again. Stephen Forrest, famous astrologer, if you don't know him, he is in his 70s, so wise and genuinely good human being. He has so many books, it's unbelievable. In fact, if you're looking for a good beginner one, The Inner Sky is fantastic. But he says any planets in the first house, you have to be a little bit selfish about them because that first house is literally about you. It is you. So a planet in the first house, so in this little roll of the dice, to have Sun in the first house means your sense of purpose, your light that radiates out, your sense of self, your essence. It's for you. Have that more, right? Let that shine through more for you. It's not just about the world to see it. It's for you to feel it. Okay, cool. Okay, so for the collective. And if you are as much of an astrology geek as I am, I know Karen's probably already put it up here several times, but living astrology is one of my favorite things this year. We have an amazing group. I always say we're a community more than we are a class, and we'd love to have you join us if you're interested. All right, for everybody, for the collective. Ooh, you guys, it's Pluto again. This is no joke. Wow, sometimes you just can't plan this shit. That's it for sure. All right, let me show everybody. For the collective. Okay. Pluto in Pisces in the second house. Here's what I extra love about this. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. At least that's my main jam. And Pluto literally is the planet most associated with evolutionary astrology. So we're all here talking evolutionary astrology and we get Pluto, right? So again, what is Pluto? Pluto is our deepest desire to evolve and grow, right? It's about wanting to empower ourselves, wanting to evolve. When I say the deepest level, I mean it's deep in your core, subconscious, underneath even the stuff up here, right? Is underneath all of that, can you feel into your soul's desire to grow and shift, right? And so Pluto, again, it asks us to transform and to really surrender those old, deeply embedded psychological, emotional attachments that keep us stuck, that keep us in the muck. I sometimes talk about Pluto as the lotus rising, right? But are you down in the muck stuck or are you rising up, right? Pluto is that energy. I sometimes say, what is your lotus rising? Which I think is a good question for all of us right now. What is our lotus rising? Now, in the sign Pisces, again, this is very similar to someone else's role that we did or just earlier, right? Truly transforming, not just our spiritual practice, but our connection with something greater. What does it mean to be interconnected? This Pluto in Pisces being spirituality, the mysteries, it's the multiverse, it's also imagination, right? It's inspired creativity. So it's very, yeah, some of you guys are laughing. I don't know, I've never rolled the dice for you guys, so I had no idea we were gonna get it so much the same in here. But clearly, all of us collectively, there's something for us to let go of in the way we do our spirituality or in the way that we feel that we're interconnected with something greater. There's a way to transform that into something more. And in the second house, that's a very earthy house, right? So in the second house, there's a level of practicality to this. So even maybe ways that we can shift or let go of old, and another way to think about this, I didn't bring this up, but Pisces also on the shadow side can be very stuck in being the victim, right? Feeling like life is happening at me, or the I don't have enough is another victim part, or feeling somehow lost, or feeling somehow like we are disconnected, or the universe doesn't have my back. But Pluto in Pisces asks us to re-empower ourselves through that connection, and in the second house through tangible things, right? So it's interesting, literally these dice are like a tangible thing. And another way to think about that second house is in the area, again, of resources, of self-worth, of self-esteem, of grounding. So in some ways, we've got this real spiritual energy, but how can we transform or use that differently to bring more stability, to bring more resources, to bring more abundance all the way around for all of us? We're not in it alone, we're in it together. And we can do things to make a difference on this planet, which I feel like is part, the second house certainly is our individual, it's our money and our stuff and it's our resources. But it's also, when you want to think about it a little bit more collectively, we can think of it like our planet Earth. I think of it that way too. So anyhow, thank you for hanging out with me. I love you guys. It's a pleasure. And if you like the dice, I will add it to my ongoing plannings. Yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening or time wherever you are in your zone. As always, if you have feedback or questions or things that you want me to talk about or things you'd like us to do, we love to hear from you. So please do that. And otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.